Good evening.
Good evening, Tony. Oh, what are we going to talk about tonight? Oh, my favorite subject.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've already been out saying, come on in, bring it on in, crowd. It's like a group hug after the game on the football field where they all make a circle and yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Been enjoying me some football, let me tell you. Oh my God, the playoffs were great. Anyway, tonight we are welcoming someone who I admittedly barely know. She was just recently given to me as a gift through another in my
Nice.
life, through our mutual friend, Andy Myers. And he contacted me and he said, "Hello, Erin." No, that's not what he said. He said to me, "Hi, Betsy, that this was a woman that I needed to know."
Awesome.
That now, when somebody says something like that to you, your ears tend to perk up. And I always, hello, Jeffrey. I always say yes to the universe, as you well know. Which is why I will be attending VultureCon with you this year.
Yes.
Well, I can't be away from you that long, Tony.
Exactly. It's already becoming too long. And when I saw that you were coming out, I thought, fantastic.
We have a great crew. Look at everybody already. Just,
it is.
KGRA, which is this syndicated network, has a subtitle to their call letters, which is "Make contact, stay connected."
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
It believe it or not, it was one of the reasons why I was attracted to coming and doing this show on this network. And then, of course, I met Bill Forte. It was kind of a done deal because he's so spectacular.
He's great at what he does. Absolutely.
He is. And so I hope he's listening and I hope he's blushing when I say that one of the reasons that I said yes to the universe was because of that. Those words, those, beautiful words, make contact, stay connected. It is so important. And the thing that Andy knew that I needed to know about Kristi was how connected she is. And so without further ado, I would love for us to introduce our guest tonight, Tony, Kristi Pederson.
Hello, Kristi.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much. It's nice to finally talk to both of you.
Well, you are, as I was told, a radiant soul. You just glow. You glow.
I owe Andy big time.
Well, he's a wonderful human being. And for him to reach out to me literally out of the blue and say, "You have to know this woman," I have to take that seriously. I put everything on pause. Oh, Bill is blushing. Very good. Wish I could see it for a moment, pinch those cheeks of his. They're frozen cheeks. He's up in the frozen tundra, bless his heart. But, I take Andy very seriously, and his work and his reputation precedes him. And so when he called and recommended you for this show, I said yes, absolutely, without having even met you.
And I hopefully will not let you or Andy down.
No, there's no concern at all about that. I just want you to. We have a pretty wide viewing audience, many of whom have probably not heard of you. So what you need to do is introduce yourself and tell people your background and tell us your story and feel that this is your space, your place in cyberspace, to be free to speak your truth about everything that you've experienced. You don't have to hold back anything at all. and you don't have to discuss anything that you don't want to. It's all your decision.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So my name is Kristi Pederson, and I am actually a psychic medium in Omaha, Nebraska.
Sorry.
It looks like Pederson, but it is actually Pederson.
I'm sorry. I won't mispronounce it again, I promise.
That's all right. My father used to mispronounce it on occasion. That's his name. So I'm a psychic medium in Omaha, Nebraska. And I always say that there are parts of most of us that we keep hidden from other people. And it's because we're embarrassed that those parts might be seen, or we're ashamed of some of the things that we've done in our life. And I was certainly one of those people. And finally, it just got to a point where I said, I can't do that anymore. And the subtext of everything I do, whether it's as a psychic medium or as a UFO contactee, is courage. And it was the most courageous thing I ever did, is to go public and write my book, We Are Not Alone, My Extraterrestrial Contact. And I have to tell you, it was so scary that I struggled writing this book, because what would my friends think? What would my family think?
Yeah.
And finally I went, I'm not writing it for them. I'm writing it for people who have had contact and have nobody to talk to, no place to go. And once I made that internal decision, that book just flew out of my fingertips. And I feel like it was kind of divinely guided. And to tell this story, if you've had any kind of contact at all, for me anyway, I've got a few instant memories, but most of the things were downloaded. So it's difficult for me to tell a real chronological story. Because when a download would happen, and for those of you that might not know what a download is, it's like receiving an entire book of information all at one time. And you have to, yeah, exactly. And your mind just, shoo, and you have to kind of assimilate that. So my first contact that I remember was at the age of 5. And it was with what I call a near-death experience, but it wasn't a traditional near-death experience. I didn't die, go to heaven, meet God, and come back again. I was very, very sick and in the hospital. I was 5 years old, and I'd had a flu that just would not leave. And my whole family had it, recovered within a day. And finally, on day 5, my mom took me to the hospital. And they kind of jury-rigged a bed for me with ice underneath it. This would have been 1960. So this was a long time ago. So protocol back then was very different than protocol would be today. So they put ice under blankets and put me on top of these blankets, and the nurse came in and started feeding me orange soda. And it was just constant. And finally, at one point, I remember I couldn't really move except for my eyes. And the nurse froze at the foot or at the top of my bed. And I thought, this is really odd, because she'd been so active with keeping me awake so I wouldn't go off. And I just remember wanting her to leave so I could go home. But it wasn't to the home that I was born and raised. It was a home that I didn't even know existed. But I knew that's where I wanted to be, is my version of a home. And when this nurse froze, I remember a doctor coming in the room, and there were no lights on in the room. There were no lights in the hallway. And all of a sudden, he had a stethoscope in his bottom pocket that was glaring with light. And I even as a 5-year-old, I thought, what is that reflecting off? Because there's no ambient light of any kind. And he came up and sat next to me, and he spoke to me telepathically. And as a 5-year-old, I didn't know what telepathy was, but I knew I could understand everything he was telling me. And he told me I would always be safe and always be protected. And I remember thinking, well, why wouldn't I be? I'm a 5-year-old little girl with a loving family. Why wouldn't I be safe and protected? But years later, under hypnosis, it became very clear that this was not a doctor. This was a traditional gray. And there were 2 others on the other side of the bed that I don't remember as a little girl seeing. But under hypnosis, there were 3 of them that came. And for whatever reason, I've always kept the safe and protected line in my head. And throughout my wild years, I took that for a spin, let me tell you, that I would be safe and protected. So UFOs were really not a part of my consciousness growing up, but I know I was being contacted because of my behavior. And all this became clear under hypnosis years later. But the one instant memory that I have was actually at age 30. And at that, I knew I never wanted to have children. And nobody really made a big deal about it except my older sister. She goes, wait till you're 30, because then your maternal instincts will kick in and it'll be just great. Well, I waited, tick tock, until I was 30. And my birthday present to myself on my 30th birthday was to have a tubal ligation and have my tubes tied. Well, within a couple of weeks, I was lying on my bed one Sunday afternoon, just reading a book, and 3 beings popped into my room. And they looked like characters right out of Star Trek. And I now know that they can make themselves look however they want to.
Yeah.
But they looked very Star Trek-y to me. And one female and 2 males. And the female looked very Egyptian to me, with the dark hair, with the bangs and down here. And then the 2 men had kind of receding hairlines. But I could tell they were upset with me because I'd had my tubes tied. And the next thing I knew, I was paralyzed. They flipped me over on the bed and they lifted me up from behind and did an examination. And they realized that I still had eggs. They just couldn't go down the fallopian tube. And they said then that was fine. They weren't mad anymore, and they left just as quickly as they came. And I was left on my bed on all fours, wondering what just happened to me. And I tried to tell a couple of friends, and I wasn't public yet as a psychic medium either, so they didn't know that I could tell what they were thinking. And I told one friend, and I could tell, she's like, oh my God, she's crazy. She's gone off the deep end. How many other people can I tell about this crazy thing? And I kind of believe her. And what that was to me was a sign to shut up and not say anything. And I became very quiet. I did tell another friend who was very kind, but she didn't ask questions. She didn't want to talk about it, but she did introduce me to a friend of hers who had a very strong interest in UFOs. And so we had some conversations, and then I started doing research, and I ran into Dr. Jack Kasher, who was the head physicist at UNO, which is the University of Nebraska at Omaha. And he was also the field investigator for MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. And I called him up, and he was nice enough to have a meeting with me. And I was so scared walking into that meeting. What if he believes me? What if he doesn't believe me? What if he thinks I'm crazy and I made it all up? And, all these things go spinning in your head. And again, that was so courageous to risk being made a fool of. And I sat down and told him what had happened to me. And he was so kind. He listened. He believed me. He said it might not be my only contact. And at that point, I almost dismissed that because I couldn't wrap my head around the one thing that at that point was so real to me. And he told me about a support group that was going on in Omaha. A support group?
For contactees, yes.
Yeah. And I didn't know contactee was a thing, and it was still being called abductions back then.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a thing, and there were other people in Omaha. So I went to this support group, and it was just like unzipping myself and climbing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell these people my story, and they listened, but they kept interrupting with their own stories that ran parallel to mine.
Oh, and this happened to me. Oh my God. Yes, I know. Oh, and that reminds me of. Yes, I know. I get it. I totally hear you.
Exactly. And so I attended that support group for a couple of years. But while that was happening, more and more and more downloads were happening to me as this almost awakening happened. And a few months after meeting Dr. Kasher, there was a symposium in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is 45 minutes from my home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a symposium for UFO? Because I was so ignorant, oblivious, just uninformed about everything at this point in my life. And I went to this symposium, and I was lucky enough to meet Linda Moulton Howe. And
She's lovely, isn't she lovely?
Yes, she was so kind. And she opened up her part of her talk to questions. And I told her what had happened to me. And she said almost verbatim what Dr. Kasher said. And that is probably not my only contact. I was just like, oh no. Well, then the downloads start coming. And people talk about that there's really nothing to be afraid of. Mm-hmm. And when I think about my own contact, when I was on a craft, and this happened a lot, because I would wake up in the morning with blood on my pillows. I'd wake up with my head at the foot of the bed, and I'd wake up with just sore spots in my genitals, frankly, where they had been doing examinations. But I remember being on a craft and not being afraid at all. But I was paralyzed, but I was curious more than anything. And they had me on beds that were like mimicked the inside of a round ship. And they were just going around and around, almost like on a conveyor belt. And as I got close to the doctor for the examination, there would be a helper there that would put my feet into stirrups and prepare me for the doctor and I'd still to this day, I assume that they were extracting eggs, but I think they were doing some other examinations too. Because I do remember then being wheeled out, and there was row upon row upon row, or shelf upon shelf of jars of fetuses and some body parts. And the me today would have been shocked by that. But again, it was more curiosity on my part that I saw these things. And a joke I used to make at parties, people would say, do you believe in UFOs? And I'd say, yes, I do. Have you ever seen one? And my joke was not from the outside. I'm wondering if people would catch on and say, what do you mean by that? Because I don't ever remember seeing the outside of a craft at that point. It was always being taken. The scary part to me is that right before they would pop into my bedroom to take me, I could feel the energy shift, and I would just be filled with terror. And it's like, oh my God, it's tonight. And boom, I would be gone. And then I would be pretty aware on a craft. And then the next thing I'd remember, it would be morning, and I'd wake up and there would be fluid, there'd be blood, there'd be, me in an odd position on the bed and just, kind of stumbling around. Like, what just happened to me? Probably the most profound memory, and you're going to have to excuse me because this was probably 25 years ago, and I still get very emotional talking about it because it's difficult. But I remember them coming into my room one night saying that my daughter needed me. And that my daughter? Well, that's odd. And the next thing I remember, I was on a craft, and they put me in, I call it the size of like a normal bathroom in a home, about that size, but it was pure white with what appeared to be stainless steel. And then a little kind of a bench thing. And they brought in this little girl. She weighed what felt like ounces rather than pounds. She had the big gray alien eyes, but other than that, she looked like me, like a little mini me. I'm red now, but I was born, and that's paid for. I'm a natural blonde. And when I was young, her age, it would have been natural white hair. And that's exactly what she had, was this fine little strands of white hair with like a little piece kind of tied at the top. And they just carefully lifted her into my arms. And they said that she had too much human in her, and she was experiencing failure to thrive. And every maternal instinct that I didn't think I had kicked into gear. And I held her, and I kissed her. I talked to her and bonded with her like any mother would to their daughter. And I physically saw color come back into her face, this just darling little peaches and cream complexion. And I thought, how can I ever let her go? This is my child, my daughter. And I don't have a good grasp of time. There's sometimes it feels like it was 20 minutes. There's other times it felt like it was hours that I was there just holding her and helping her live. And the Grays came back into the room after a period of time, and I didn't know how to let her go. And she jumped off my lap and kind of scampered across the room to them. And I thought, how, to these emotionless beings, how can I do this? But I thought, they don't have emotion towards her, but she certainly had emotion towards them, because it's the only life form that she really knew. And I had to let her go. And I said that I did my job. I saved her. I saved my little girl. And excuse me again. It's very emotional. And they took her away. And evidently, before I agreed to go on this craft and work with her, I said I wanted to meet my other children because I knew that there were more. Pardon me, I need a tissue here. And so they took me down a hall and to what appeared to be a small gymnasium. And they opened the doors, and there were what appeared to be about 35 other children. And they didn't look anything like my daughter. They were so skinny and so lanky. It almost looked like they didn't have a skeletal system, but they were standing, so they did. But they had dark black hair and kind of stringy still, but they had more Asian features than my little girl did. And it's like, no wonder they said she had too much human in her, because she looked very much like me, where these others didn't resemble me in any way, shape, or form. And I looked at them like the aliens they were, and they looked at me like some benign intruder. And I closed the door with absolutely no emotion. And I woke up in the morning just sobbing with what had happened. And that was a real life memory. But as a child, I would have physical anomalies that if separately, they really wouldn't mean much of anything. You put them all together, and with the knowledge that I've gained under hypnosis, a lot of it made a lot of sense to me. And that is, I had bloody noses all the time as a child. And not, oh, a bloody nose, it would gush out of me. And I'd get up as just a little, 3, 4, 5-year-old and have my cold breakfast cereal and start eating it, and then blood would come gushing out. And my mom would have to put me on the sofa and bath towels to absorb all the blood. And she'd make an ice pack to stop the bleeding. And this happened frequently. And when I say frequently, I would say, oh gosh, at least once a week. And that's just, so she took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, oh, she's just picking her nose. And it's like, no, that's not it. And I knew it wasn't it. That thing really wasn't allowed in our household anyway. And fainting, I would be in any kind of a crowd, and boom, I would pass out and faint. And this is as a little tiny girl. And what I discovered under hypnosis is that being transported from earth to crafts and back and forth really can mess with your equilibrium.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. And I would be passing out all the time. When I was born with a congenital knee issue. So at 16 and 17, I had to have tendon transplants in my knees. And part of that is having your blood typed. Mm-hmm. I was a B positive. Okay, not a problem. Years later, I moved to California, and I had a little minor outpatient surgery, and they typed my blood and said, oh, you're an A positive. I went, can your blood type change? And they started laughing at me. And they're like, no, of course your blood type can't change. Don't be ridiculous. They said, well, back in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, they told me it was a B positive. And now in San Francisco, you're telling me it's A positive. I said, show me how you do it. And I literally made them bring out, at the time, it was like a little rectangle a rectangular oval card or ovals on it, which were all
Yep.
different blood types. And then they would put the drop of blood on each one, and wherever it would coagulate was your blood type. And it clearly coagulated under A positive. Well, then years later, I moved to Omaha and decided to be a blood donor. Do you know your blood type? I believe I'm A positive. Well, they always test your type anyway. No, you're not. You're B positive. And I just started crying. I didn't understand it. And again, they made me look like a fool for questioning this. So my blood type has changed twice, from its original to another and back to an original again. And I would also have motion sickness to a degree that nobody else in my family did. And whenever we'd go in the car, my mother kept a coffee can and a dish rag in there because for the inevitable me being sick. And we'd get in the car, and whether that was to church, on a vacation, it didn't matter. And I'd whisper in my little girl voice, "Daddy, I have to spit," which meant stop the car, jump out, grab the coffee can, and I would throw up either on the side of the road or in the coffee can. And this was every place we went in a car. And again, under hypnosis, it's part of that equilibrium and being transported from craft to craft. And when I was about 15, that's when hijacking started at airports.
Mm-hmm.
And my father he didn't travel much, but when he did, we'd go to the airport and see him off. Well, that's when they started bringing in the metal detectors. And I remember looking at this, like what I called the doorway to nowhere, but it was to determine whether someone was carrying metal or a gun and confiscate it. Well, my dad was taking this trip, and we walked up to this gate, and I just said, no, I can't. And I, at 15 years old, had a complete meltdown going through this doorway. And I mean, my parents were so mad at me. And we'll hold your hand. We'll take you through. You're spoiled. You're awful. You're terrible. And I couldn't do it. And so finally I said, I'm going to wait in the ticketing area, and you guys can say goodbye to Dad and come and get me. Well, one day it clicked. And it's like, as I was on crafts, walking down these hallways, they would take me through doorways that were very, very similar to metal detectors back in the 70s. And it was, to me, it was not a doorway to nowhere. It was a doorway to hell. And realized it because I knew, as a young child, to have all these examinations done, and I didn't know what was going on. And it was just so frightening to put all these pieces together of my life. And my mom took me to a psychologist as a young girl, and he knew I was an odd child, but more importantly, he questioned my mother's parenting abilities, which meant that we never went back.
Of course.
Yes, because back then, it was almost considered a failure on the part of the parents.
Parent, if the child had issues, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I acted out. I was scared to death. I was defiant. I was, every emotion wrapped into one because I didn't know what was happening to me. Mm-hmm. And, I still had that 5-year-old memory, but assumed it was a doctor. But it was just such a mixture of emotions my whole life, not fitting in with my family and being judged for being weird. And how can you say that? How can you do that? And, even as a young girl babysitting for families, back then, it was the house, kind of kitty corner from our house. And the mother of that family would just stand at the doorway and watch until I got home. But it meant climbing over a fence, climbing through bushes. But I would lay down in the grass, and this would be 2 or 3 in the morning. And I'd lie down in the grass and just look at the stars and cry and say, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. Yeah. But I didn't know where home was.
Yeah.
And I know now I'm not alone in that feeling. And when I started hypnosis, then just, maybe 8 years ago or so, the hypnotherapist said, let's go back to when the contact first started. And I went back to this pink planet. And if you, my book, I have the pink planet right there in the corner of my book, because it was so profound. And that was home. That's where I felt the most at home. But I also knew that this was part of an agreement that I had with the aliens, that I would be part of a breeding program with them. And have made peace with that now. But sorry if I'm talking out of chronological order, because this happens in non-chronological order.
I understand.
Yeah, I've been contacted by 2 different groups. The second group is what I call the technological group. And as crazy as this sounds, and I do have to tell you this, as a psychic medium, when someone sits across from me and says, you're going to think I'm crazy, but it's like, oh, bring it on, bring it on.
Yeah.
Because I've lived a world of crazy, and nothing anybody else can tell me is going to make me think they're crazy at all. But this technological group, they're teaching me how to fly crafts. And I have memory upon memory upon memory of being in very small crafts that about the size of maybe a Volkswagen Beetle, and on like a grassy knoll. And there really wasn't an engine. You didn't start it. It was more of a thought process. And it was just me making myself one with that craft. And starting out just flying very low over grasslands. And then I graduated, I don't know, but flying bigger crafts. And I remember steering through mountains and going over the cityscape of New York. And I've been to New York so many times that I know the cityscape quite well. And going and being able to maneuver, those were part of the lessons on learning how to fly crafts. And I just, who can I tell this to? Oh my gosh, who's going to believe this? Since then, I have met one other person, and I read her book, and she has the same experience of learning how to fly crafts. And I had this teacher, and I was on board a huge craft one time, and he's like, all right, come on, Kristi, get over here. And I was acting like, a petulant child going, no, I hate technology. I'm not any good at it. Don't make me do this. And he's like, get over here. So I got up and walked over to this kind of a wall of computers, and surprised me more than anything. I started programming and pressing buttons and turning dials and doing advanced programming. And the part of me was just doing it. And the other half of me was like, what is going on? Where did I learn how to do this? It was just crazy. And then my teacher brought me to another kind of an empty wall with a big screen. And showed me these holographic images. And these images were of fire and just disaster upon disaster, and people screaming and crying. And he said, now these are the people you're going to save. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have never been in a fire. I don't know how to save people. I don't know. And he goes, you will know what to do when the time is right. That's why you're here. That's what we're teaching you. And last October, I was on a vacation, and I was journaling on the beach. And I heard my spirit guide say to me, close your journal. Enjoy your vacation, and you will get downloads when you return. I went, okay. And so I shut my journal. The day I got home from vacation, downloads started happening from this spirit entity. And he said, this will be your 4th book. And every day now I wake up and I write and I write and I write all the messages that are coming from him. And all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, I said, you're my teacher, aren't you, from that craft? And he said, yes. And so evidently now I'm learning what to do when the time is right. Mm-hmm. And that is to channel all this information, and it is for the good of humanity and for saving our planet. Because I would say we're the only species on planet Earth that is willing to destroy our own home. And he's, giving me messages on, and I think the people I'm supposed to save, I was taking that too literally, because I am finding more and more and more people are having paranormal experiences.
Yes, it's amazing. It's quite extraordinary what's been going on. And it began not long after the acknowledged beginning of the pandemic.
Yes. And I saw this theme, and it could be alien contact. It could be precognition. It could be just talking to deceased loved ones. And they don't know what to do because this just came out of the blue for them, or I've had it, most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that prompted me to write my third book, which is Between Earth and Heaven, A Beginner's Guide to Living a Spiritual Life, because I found myself repeating over and over and over the same thing. It's like, where do you start when you have these experiences? Where do you start learning? How do you develop that? How do you shut it down if you don't want it? And how do you explain it? And so, I feel like my mission on this earth is to help people stand in their own power. And that takes courage, a great deal of courage, because I feel like from the time we're born, we're being programmed. And that can be by our parents, by our teachers, our siblings, our bosses, until we become a person that we've designed on other people's expectations.
Yes.
And we don't even know who we are. And so that's my job, no matter what your experience has been, is to teach you how to find yourself again and how to be so authentically you and have the courage to do so.
Well, what I have discovered having you on the show is that we have a lot in common.
Really?
I have not had the same experiences that you have. I think I understand the contact when the entities were angry, because you went ahead and did something that I think was against your soul agreement by having your tubes tied and taking control of your body, that in a way that they objected to, until they found out that what they really needed you for was still there anyway.
Right.
I'm really glad. I never had kids. I never got married. I never really, hi, Cody. Oh, we have so many wonderful viewers tonight. But I felt very much the way you did as a child, disattached from the world in remarkable ways, more of an observer of it rather than a participant.
Yes.
Quite a misfit, wondering why I was here, why I didn't feel that I fit in. And yet I had so many responsibilities and obligations from a very young age, being the eldest of 5 little girls. I had, by the age of 10, I was like the third parent. And so, it was, I learned early, fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I learned that early. It wasn't until I was in my 50s that I finally felt completely, utterly comfortable in my skin. I've had multitudes of episodes of lost time in my life. Thank you, Misty. I've had multitudes of individual contact experiences. I don't think I'm here for the same reason that you are. I have absolutely no recollection of that. My planet is blue, not pink.
Oh.
It's, I do believe, that's why I was so thrilled when Tony came on, and he's got the photograph of the 7 sisters, the Pleiades, behind him, because I feel quite certain that that's where I come from, and very often where I belong when I'm feeling particularly disoriented with my equilibrium being off on this planet. I don't do well in oppressive 3D.
No.
I am definitely much happier in 4 and particularly in 5D.
Yes.
Spend as much time there as I possibly can. But we have a lot in common. And what we have in common is that ultimately we are what in the vernacular has expanded to bring in words like contactee, experiencer. I tell people all the time, I was a ufologist before that word was invented, before that concept existed. 50 years now since I had my first conscious contact. Although I am absolutely certain that I had many incidents prior to that, the tender age of 13. I just didn't know what it was. I have attempted to be hypnotized. No one can do it. And I had a very bad experience once with a world-renowned hypnotist that I went to see in Atlanta, who charged a boatload of money, even back in the 80s, for a session. And he ended up getting very angry with me and throwing the check that I had written to him back at me and telling me that I could not be hypnotized, that I was not from here. And at that time, I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know. What do you mean I'm not from here? I'm not from Atlanta. I'm not from Georgia. I'm not from planet Earth. What am I not from?
Planet Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do believe that we're all seeded from someplace else.
I think so too. I think that's highly plausible. That we're all hybrids in some way, shape, or form, to different degrees.
Yes,
and I think that the vast majority of people who I know who are legitimate psychic mediums also have profound ties to extraterrestrial contact.
Yes.
And one in particular I know who is so good at what he does and yet so terrified of making that connection, does not even want to talk about it. And this is a highly intelligent, highly evolved, spiritually evolved man who I have great and enormous respect for. And I cannot have this conversation with him, Kristi.
Wow.
He doesn't want to hear
ready.
it.
Yeah, they're ready when they're ready. And I have to say, I understand that. The first time I went in for hypnosis, it's like, what if under hypnosis it finds out that I made it all up? Or what if under hypnosis I find out it's all true? I mean, it was equally terrifying to me.
Yeah. Well, I know I have a vivid imagination. I can make up fairy tales and all kinds, I'm a writer. But I have no fear about suddenly discovering that this has all been conjured in my imagination. I have no fear of that. I know what I have experienced in my life. I am cognizant of the profundity of it, the significance of the experiences that I've had. And in fact, in a way, I feel reverence for them. I turn into a giddy 5-year-old every time I see a vessel. I mean, and oh my God, I get all glowy and pasty and moist and full of joy, and the endorphins just surge through me.
Yeah.
I call it higher love. It's like, oh, there you are. It's just, I effervesce is what I do. I effervesce every single time.
It's magnificent. I had a wonderful thing happen one of the last times I was under hypnosis. And the hypnotherapist asked me, she goes, what do your spirit guides think about your ET contact? And I went, oh my God. If we are all one, which now so many people believe that and understand we are all one, we are expressing ourselves individually. That's not just humans. It is ETs, it's angels, it's guides. We are all one. We're just choosing to express ourselves differently
on different planes of action, in different dimensions, simultaneously on the space-time continuum that may not even exist.
Exactly. And I do know my main guide is an ET. And I say he looks like a cross between ET the extraterrestrial and Yoda.
So cool. That's so cool. I have a friend who, well, actually, my sister. I have a friend too who relies very heavily on her guides. And she tells me extraordinary stories about, their individual personalities. But my sister has 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my sister Cindy has 7 of them. And we keep them busy. We keep them at work. Whenever anything's going on and there needs to be an intervention here or an intervention there, or I one time lost a very important photograph that had to go to Warner Brothers Studios to be included in the film The Conjuring. And I couldn't, there were 2 photographs. I could not find them. We had them. We had found them out of thousands. We had them. I could not find them. And I needed to express mail them to California that day. And I called my sisters. I was living here in this house in Georgia at the time. And I called my sister. She lives 2 miles down the street. And I said, Cindy, I can't find the photographs that we pulled out last night. Oh, my God, I have to mail them. Where are they? And she said, don't worry, I'll send my guides. And I sat down on the sofa and just I was at that point a little on the hyperventilating side because, they were there and then they weren't. And all of a sudden something told me to just reach into a pile of photographs that had to have been 1,000 photographs. And I put my hands on the 2 of them and they were buried at the bottom of the pile and up they came. So in real world time, that intervention occurs. But you have to connect with it, don't you think? That yes. You have to connect with it. You have to make a concerted, conscious effort to allow it in, to have that kind of an impact.
That's one of the things I teach my clients is to connect to their spirit guides. And whether they're ETs or not, I said, you have to make them your best friend.
Yeah.
And I said, and that's every morning. And I say 3 things as part of my morning meditation. And that is, thank you for.
I do every morning too. Yeah. Every morning. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for this work that I do. Thank you for always being with me. And thank you for clear messages I'm receiving today for my healing and highest good.
Oh, okay. You've got it down to a science. I just drink coffee and sing to the sky. You've got it almost like an incantation. That's great.
Oh, I do. I've got a long meditation in the morning before I go to work. And that's just a very small piece of it. But that's connecting. And then at night when I go to bed, I say, thank you for this day. This part, not so hot, but this part was great. But if you come from gratitude, it will completely turn your life upside down.
Yeah, always. Absolutely it does. Although you exhibit far more self-discipline than I possess.
That's funny. But I have to tell you, to me, it's a funny story. When I was first connecting with my main guide, and this is now maybe, 35 years ago, and I'm lying on a bed, and I said, okay, I want to meet my main spirit guide. And this spirit guide popped in and I said, well, what can I call you? And he said, MEXX symbol. I said, I cannot pronounce symbol.
Pronounce that. Yeah, exactly.
I said, I can't do that. Do you have a nickname? Do you have something else I can call you? And he said, just use the first 2 letters. And I went, oh, okay. M-E, me. I'm like, oh, you're hilarious.
Hilarious. I know. Yep.
But again, if we're all one, our guides, our ETs, they're all a part of us.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people have a difficulty understanding that, Kristi. And I admittedly, for a very long time, for decades of my life, I didn't understand it either. I have a spirit guide. I'll call her that for lack of a better term, who actually goes and visits friends of mine around the world. Really? And then she speaks to them and tells them, and she's extraterrestrial, she's beautiful, and she's tall and slender, which I will never be, with this wild hair. Well, I have some of that myself, but and she will speak to them and let them know that they are to contact me and to tell me how much she loves me, and how proud of me that she is, that I have found my path and on my mission, and faithful, devoted to it. And she tells them, now none of these people have ever met each other. None of them know each other, or none of them. There's been 6 incidents now that she has gone to different people, one in Germany, one in England, one here in Georgia. Wow. I've Rhode Island. Really, it's amazing. And none of them know even of the existence of the others. And each one of them has contacted me over the last 10 years or so and identified her by name and told me that she can't come to me to give me these messages because she is me in a different dimension. And so there's something that can't happen in terms of that merging probably until this vessel expires. And so she gets the messages to me through others whom she knows I would trust to tell me.
I love that. That's amazing. And it's interesting that you say that in another dimension, because the last couple of months, I would say, I've been having dreams at night that I am going from dimension to dimension and back and forth on that. And so I don't know the reason behind that yet, but I do know that we've got the capability to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been spending an inordinate amount of time lately in the 4th dimension, which is unusual. I generally don't. Just the realm of ghosts and spirits, and I generally don't. I like to skip through that and kind of get into the higher realms where I feel lighter, less burdened. But lately I've been doing a lot of yard work and having experiences, spiritual experiences, seeing spirit out in the yard. Just out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden I'll see something. Here in the house, I'll see something. And this is my sister's house. I'm here with my mom. I'm coming into the 2nd month of being here with my mom, which I love every minute of. And I remember when I first moved into this house in 2008, 2007, 2008. 2008. And I don't think I'd been here 2 or 3 months, and things started happening in this house that was built in the 40s. It's just an old Georgia farmhouse on a couple of acres of land. It's very quaint and unique and lovely. But we started having all kinds of activity in the house. And she came up to me and she said, I got to tell you, my house wasn't haunted until you moved into it.
You didn't move in alone.
I didn't, and so I've been having, she wasn't happy that day because she wasn't, that wasn't a compliment that I was being given. Let me put it to you that way. Much more of an accusation. But I've been seeing things, a lot of things lately in the swirling smoke while I'm burning leaves, or, off in the bamboo forest, or, just like activity. Yeah. And I don't know if it's spirit activity or if it's extraterrestrial. The galactic family, they can pop in whenever they want, however they want. But it's been a kind of intermingling of dimensions that's going on. And I think that this goes back to particularly the beginning of the pandemic, when I started getting very increased reports from people of this is happening, that is happening. I saw this, I saw that. I never had an experience like this before. Oh my God, I'm freaking out. And at first, I started thinking about it. Is this the culmination of quarantine? Are we in our houses long enough now that if there's spirit around us, that we're noticing instead of just getting on with our lives, throwing our purse over our shoulder and walking out the door to work? Is this a matter of being outside more and looking up? Is this convergence of circumstance, being, basically sequestered in our homes for months? What is this? And I've come to the conclusion over these last couple of years that this is happening because we've all had to, whether we wanted to or not, be shaken, awaken.
I agree. And we've had so many distractions with work and with life, and we're not paying attention. And I think with the pandemic, it has forced us to be quiet.
Yes.
And we can
reflective, and
yes.
to look, to examine our environment, to examine maybe perhaps our own mortality when none of us have any immunity naturally to this coronavirus.
Yeah.
I think there are multiple dynamics at play, but I don't think that there's any coincidence that people are having more and more sightings. As a psychic medium, I'm sure, you're getting knocked on, the door frequently. So many people are in grief. So many people have lost someone that they love and adore and want to reach out. I can't think of a more important time in human history that we are confronted with a true global pandemic where
you can't escape. You can't go anywhere if it's not affected.
Right. I mean, because we can get on planes and carry it all over, the whole planet. And that was not true during the Black Death. That was not true during the first bubonic plague outbreak in 530 something. That was not true of humanity then. There were enclaves of people who died by, the thousands and the hundreds of thousands. Eurasia got hit, and then Western Europe got hit, and where they could travel. But now the whole planet is open to us. And so we truly have our global pandemic to deal with for the first time. And I think it's changed the way that people think about their own existence and our own mortality, because we're all equally susceptible to this novel virus.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy. There's no caste system. There's no rich or poor. It's everybody.
No, everybody. It doesn't give a damn who you are, what age you are, who you voted for. It does not care. It seeks a vessel as a host so that it can replicate itself.
What I found I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I think really its most simplistic form, it has literally changed our minds about how we view our lives. And that many, many people have done some deep reflection about their existence and in grief, in the loss of loved ones that so many have endured, over 900,000 as of today, so many of which have been completely unnecessary, which makes it all the more difficult to accept. And yet, this is the time when what you do is most needed on the planet. That what I do, in terms of discussing this, the ramifications of it, the layers of phyllo dough that we can pull back, as we examine what I frequently lecture about, which is the paradigm shift, that period in the course of human evolution where everything changes and nothing is ever the same again. And we're in it. We're right smack steeped in it.
The hard part for me in my job is that, if someone decides to go to a therapist, they know that they're in for the long haul. Yes. And yet when they come to a psychic medium, they want the magic wand and everything's better. Yeah. And it's like, how long did it take you to become the person that you are today? It's going to take the rest of your life, really, to remember who you are in spirit, because I do believe we all know exactly who we are in spirit. Yeah. But when we come to this planet, I say we come with amnesia. We're like, what did I say I wanted to learn? And we have to remember and peel away those layers. And I think with the pandemic, it is making people taking away the distractions, so they've got no choice. But I will also say a lot of people are kind of imploding too. And I'm seeing
a lot. And the suicide rate is skyrocketing because this alternate reality that we're living in is too stressful for some young souls. They just can't handle it. It's burdensome. And I don't mean young souls so much in terms of youth, human, even though the vast outbreak of suicides are happening between teenagers, people below 30 years old that are having the most difficulty with all of this. But it's also young souls who are unprepared for what I refer to as Earth Soul School, where you come here to learn your lessons. And if you can't, you're going to have to come back and learn them again. And it's all part of our spiritual evolution and ultimately our spiritual ascension, which I think maybe, I don't know, but I think maybe once we get there, we get to go home. We get to go home to the planet from which we come. And at which point I'm going to have a knockdown, drag out fight with whomever I supposedly made an agreement with to come here in the first place.
It's true. And this is going to sound really gross, but it's like this human body feels so weird to me. And it's like, why do I have to blow my nose? Why do I have to use a bathroom?
I know. Everything leaks. There's lots of orifices and
it makes no sense to me at all.
I'm so much happier as a ball of friggin' light, I have to tell you.
You and me both. Absolutely. That's funny. But I think you're absolutely right that it is people like you and people like me that have really kind of run the gamut, and we have the ability to go into the astral plane, the causal plane, and work with spirit, that we can really teach people how to, when they're having these experiences, just to be the best human being that they can be.
Yes, absolutely.
Time. Yeah, it does. It takes time to do that. And people, so many are willing to commit, but there are some that they want that magic bullet. And it just doesn't work that way.
Well, no, an immediate gratification, which I think is why the younger generation is struggling so much with the pandemic, because they're being denied everywhere they turn. No, you can't go there. No, you can't do that. Slap this mask on your face. You can't go to school unless you're masked up. You can't go to school unless you get a vaccine. You can't, and all of that, which personally I agree with, like, do whatever you have to do so we can get on the other side of this. It's proved efficacious. So let's just, are we all in this together or not? However, there are, I don't know, several million people that disagree with that. And so it's stalling our progress societally to get to a point of what they call herd immunity, where it becomes endemic instead of pandemic, where basically everybody's had it or they've been exposed. And that's actually several years away. And considering that human beings are as dumb as dirt, and that's an insult to all dirt everywhere on the planet, including beach sand.
Oh my God.
It's going to take the duration of this pandemic. Fear-based carbon units, Jonathan. Yes, you got that line from me. He stole that from me. Jonathan stole fear-based carbon units from me. But Kristi, one of the reasons I'm so glad to welcome you to the show is because you are brave. And I write a lot about that myself and lecture about that. That, when we gather together, birds of a feather, at conferences and meetings and support groups and so on and so forth, to share our stories, it's very powerful, because by doing so, everybody is saying implicitly, I believe you. Everybody is saying implicitly, I accept you. I believe you. Your experience might be different than mine. There might be some similarities, but it doesn't matter. You have the courage to step forward and speak your truth in gratitude for the experiences. And that is very, very powerful. And so all I can say at 10:07, a little more than halfway through our show, thank you, Andy Myers, for bringing you, Kristi Pederson, into the life of A World Awakening and our viewers.
Thank you, Andy, too. Yes.
It makes a big difference. I want to invite Tony, if he's not off in the bathroom or something. Tony,
human.
There he is, because he did that last time I called him, and he's like, sorry, I was in the bathroom.
I was gone for like 2 minutes, and you're like, I hear Tony. I'm like, oh, man.
I remember seeing that. That was just a few weeks ago.
Yes, it was.
It was. I wanted, Tony is a brilliant and beautiful soul, and a dear friend of mine, an awesome producer. And he always has erudite questions. And I wanted to give him a chance to be with you for a few minutes and put me in the green room so that I can take this extremely persistent puffball of a dog into the backyard.
All right.
And I will be back in like 3 minutes, okay? 3 minutes.
No problem.
Okay,
no problem.
Thank you. Sandy,
so,
come on, honey.
Kristi, one of the things that I found absolutely fascinating was that I know that you and Andrea hadn't spoken much before, outside of maybe arranging you to come on the show. But what was so amazing to me was that the similarities in what I've heard Andrea talk about on the show, what I've heard her talk about when we filmed various things, did some UFO stuff, which hasn't been released yet, but the unbelievable connection between the things you explained in the first half hour compared to everything I've heard Andrea say. And then she finally responded to you and said, we have a lot of similarities. And I'm over here thinking, oh my gosh, not only from experience, from your point of view, from what you feel is occurring, but even down to terminology. I mean, only people that interact with Andrea on a regular basis have picked up the term download, which she uses all the time. But then I heard you say it. I'm like, oh my gosh, after everything else I heard. So to me, that leads just an enormous amount of credibility to what you're saying, because that connection between what she says and what you say, and I'm sure hundreds of other people, if not thousands, adds validity to it. I mean, it's the same in the paranormal. When somebody across the planet or the country can capture an EVP saying similar things, similar voice, I mean, those are pieces of the puzzle that then begin to fit together. But I found that absolutely fascinating.
Well, yeah, you're right. Andrea and I only had 2 very, very brief conversations, and I didn't tell her any of my story, and she didn't tell me any of her story.
Right. Which, like I said, was mind blowing. I'm like, you kept saying things that I have heard Andrea say thousands of times,
wow.
almost verbatim. And I was like, holy cow. And then when you use download, I was just like, okay, so what is, wow. But that's very fascinating. And you explain the download exactly like she does. You know, it's this massive information that just gets input. But that is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's a fascinating life, I have to say. And, you know, all the different pieces that make us as human beings. But you're right, because I've talked to some I started a support group to pay it forward from the support group I used to be in. And 4 years ago, I started a support group. And it's the same thing. I hear the same story. Different types of ETs are contacting, but that information is basically the same.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It really is. And, you know, I'm sure moving forward, you and Andrea will speak often, but it'll be really interesting to see and hear, you know, what other things coincide and mesh, and just some of the things you said tonight were just unbelievably fascinating. And, you know, I'm more familiar with the paranormal side than the extraterrestrial side, but like you said, and I agree with this, having done it for 12 years, we've come to those same conclusions, that there really is no difference, and everything is connected, and that's the way it operates. But you know, just fascinating with the different things that coincided, and those coincidences were amazing, just incredible.
It's why I waited, Kristi. It's why I waited until we did the show. I heard a couple of things that you said as I was, you know, monitoring the wild accounts, all two of them. You know, here's the thing. It was deliberate on my part that we not share our personal stories. And because I wanted to see what exactly we did have in common, what experiences were similar, and what, you know, the congruencies that might occur. And so it certainly, Tony is absolutely right. It has not disappointed.
No,
That's
not
amazing.
at all. I was shocked. Listen, like that first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you were speaking about who you were, what you had been through. I mean, good thing audience couldn't see me. I was off camera because I was just like, what? I mean, it was, like I said, even down to terminology, it's just incredible. But like I said, that to me, that adds complete validity to the things you're saying, because like I said, it fit together like pieces of a puzzle, and that wouldn't have happened to two people that have not interacted previously. So that was really cool.
And Tony, I love that you said pieces of a puzzle, because one of the downloads I received just this last summer is that to help people understand we are all one is picture a great big puzzle, and we are all pieces of that puzzle. And
Yep.
I use it all the time as a metaphor. I use it all the time. In fact, it's the opening of my books, House of Darkness, House of Light, how the pieces of the puzzle just seemed to fall 3D all perfectly into place. And they had to, precisely the way that they did, in order for us to end up at the farm.
Yeah, and it's a particular shape, a particular color, a particular design. And if we try to be something that we're not, that puzzle piece doesn't fit. It's like we have one obligation in this lifetime, and that's to be ourselves. We just got to figure out what that is.
Yes, and then not be afraid to share ourselves with the world.
Yes.
Regardless of what could come our way. Tony, I know you, I know all of us have been at some point or another the brunt of ridicule and disbelief, and no, you people are making this up. You want your 15 minutes of fame on YouTube, which is a joke. It's just really,
yourself out there.
Really, I could make up better stuff than this if that's what I was trying to do. Okay,
Right.
You know, it's I could get a YouTube show and talk about the unicorn that I have out in the backyard, you know, for hours, and there would actually be people that watch that.
Oh, yeah.
But it takes a special kind of stalwart, almost stoicism. You have to get to the point, I think, where you just don't care what other people think anymore.
That's
You're
what I
not
wrote
here
in the
for
forward.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wrote that in the forward of my book. There comes a moment in everyone's life where you retreat into yourself or you stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
I said, and that time for me is now. And it took a long time. It took decades of fear. But I still say the most courageous thing I ever did is go public with my book and put myself out there for ridicule.
Yeah.
And do you know how much ridicule I've gotten from it?
How
Nothing.
much?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Which,
And that was another thing, Kristi, that you were talking about, the fear. What are people going to think? Are they going to read it? Are they going to believe me? And Andrea said the exact same words. So, the similarities just kept flowing and flowing. But, for both of you to have done that, I mean, I give you both a ton of credit, because the era that we're in now was not like that back then. And, to have the experiences and to have the guts to confront society and say, this is what happened. I'm not making it up. I'm not crazy. I know it happened. That takes guts, because like Andrea was saying, I'm sure everyone here and lots of people in the audience have been ridiculed for certain things they've said or discussed. But that takes an enormous amount of just plain, without sugarcoating it, guts to do that, because you're putting yourself out there at the expense of basically anybody who wants to make a comment. But when you find the right groups, that there's a lot of other people out there that have had those similar experiences. And when, that support definitely helps. No doubt.
Well, that's who we're here for.
yeah.
Right.
What you said, Kristi, right at the beginning of the show about you're basically doing what I'm doing. You're reaching into the cage of individuals that you may never meet, may never know, and you're reaching through the bars of their self-imposed prison, taking the key out of their hand, handing it back to them, and telling them to unlock their cage door. All they have to do is slip their hand through the bars and unlock the door. It's their self-imposed prison. It's their cage, and they have the key to their own extraction at all times. You're giving them permission to use the key.
Exactly. And I tell people that all the time, is that you can do this. But I said, you're at point A, you want to get to point B, you just don't know how to do it. And I'm going to give you the tools, but you still have to do the work. They still have to open that door. They still have to put themselves out there. And for me, it was more painful to be quiet than it was finally to come out.
Yes.
And tell my story. And I say it started very small, with very small discussion groups of maybe 8 people, and just, shaking in my boots. And the response was so good. And that gave me the courage then to write the book. And I don't know if we mentioned this, but within 2 weeks of the book coming out, I was contacted by a filmmaker, and they're making a documentary about my experiences.
Oh, that's marvelous. That's so great. Yeah, Tony and I have worked on several docs. We're basically doing the same thing. And it's so important. There should be absolutely no competition in this field. We should all be doing our own thing. And sharing it and, putting it out there as much as possible, because as it says in the intro to A World Awakening, the time is now. There is not a moment to waste. Our planet is dying with us on it. Ultimately, it will survive its temporary demise, but ours will be permanent.
Right.
And, that's the number one message that I receive. Of all the messages, the myriad messages that I receive, that's the most persistent one. And that we have to peck our way out of our own 3D shell, that they cannot come and do it for us, that it's a process. And so that process is so integral to the not only the protection, but ultimately the salvation of the human race.
Yes.
That there is nothing more important for us to discuss than this.
Those are the downloads that I'm getting for this next book that I'm writing. And I kept saying, this is pretty dark. I thought this book was supposed to help me. He said, well, you can't have a solution if you don't know the problem.
Exactly right. And my book too. I mean, you've actually been more courageous than I have been, because, but I had guidance. I wrote a book that I published in August of 2019 called A Wonder to Behold. And I still have yet to put it out publicly. I sell it only to my people, my tribe, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, and out they go to my tribe. But there was something different that happened with me with A Wonder to Behold. And that was that most of the book, and I've shared this with Tony too, most of the book is about the pending paradigm shift. It was written pre-COVID.
Oh, wow.
And the weekend that I introduced it at a very large event, I contracted COVID.
You're kidding.
I did. I did. From a couple from England who had just come into the States from London. And they were both deathly ill. And I got it, and it almost killed me.
Really?
So that was quite an awakening as well. My doctors did not know what had me. They didn't know what it was. It was a kind of pneumonia they had never seen.
It was that new. Wow.
Yeah. And it didn't have a name. The World Health Organization had not even identified it as a novel coronavirus yet. And it was already circumnavigating the globe, much like the galactic family. They knew that it was going on. They can't intercede or intervene on our behalf with this. We have to work our way through this.
We're a free will planet, so we have to do it on our own.
Yeah. And, we've got higher vibrational beings. We've got lower vibrational beings. We've got, people that are complete deniers of everything that we're discussing here. Although that's so strange, too, because, I haven't received one harsh review or commentary about A Wonder to Behold. All the lambasting I ever got, particularly from religious zealots, has been targeted at me for House of Darkness, House of Light. So people are less likely to believe in spirit and the existence of spirit than they are to accept the potential existence of extraterrestrials, which I think,
that makes no sense.
I know. You would think that it would be the opposite. And yet everything, the Tony has had conscious contact with spirit. I have, we know numerous people who have. We know a young couple who's already made direct contact.
And direct amazing work.
Quantum leap. Huge, massive leap in the field, which has just happened over basically the course of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And basically what they're doing is literally and figuratively tapping into the unified field of consciousness.
Yep. Literally.
Where everything is one thing. It's all existence.
That's
it's
amazing.
All energy. It's all consciousness. And so our friends Cody and Satori have
I watched that show. I watched
have been gifted with this incredible knowledge and making contact. Again, full circle, making contact, staying connected.
I love it.
That's how we spiritually ascend. And that's how we open others to the possibilities which exist in a limitless universe.
Yeah. You were saying, though, I remember when even before the pandemic was classified as a pandemic. I mean, you were even speaking then saying this is the start of it. This is gonna make change. This is gonna make people think differently. And because people are so differently, I mean, the majority of them won't change until they're literally at their destruction. And the pandemic has brought that to the forefront to a lot of people. And then they start
urgency to survive.
Correct. Yep. So, that may be the whole reason for it, regardless of what your political view on where it came from or how it got started. But, let's face it, the world needed time to think, reflect, take a look at their actions, how they're treating other people, and,
make contact with lost loved ones.
Correct. Yep. So it kind of all fell into place for people to take a couple steps back and say, okay, this isn't right. Let's change this. Let's change that. And shows like this definitely get that message out there, because you've been talking about it, the last year and a half or even longer, because you started before. But that's how it progressed. And, let's hope people see that for what it truly is, and can make the adjustments needed to change the way the human race treats the planet they live on, the way they treat each other, and hope that outcome is soon to come.
Well, I got a message just after the pandemic started, Kristi. So within a few months after I published the book, I had not yet put it out into the world at large. And I still haven't, because the message that I got was not yet. Not yet. And it's because, the whole book in some way, shape, or form was a harbinger of things to come, chapter by chapter by chapter. And so basically the whole book is, here comes the paradigm shift, prepare for it, steady yourself, get ready, go inward, get ready. Here it comes. And then it was here. Yeah. And so I've spent the last 2 years going through it with a fine-tooth comb, the original first edition, and writing about my personal experience of the paradigm shift and all the things that have occurred since the day that book was published. And I am now ready to launch it into the stratosphere.
I love it. I want a copy, please.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, it will. It will be. I'm adding a whole nother chapter to it. It had 10 chapters, and the final one is not chapter 11. It's chapter 1111.
Of course. It had to be.
It had to be. And then I will know it is done. And then I will know that the message that I wanted to impart, I had to wait for, sadly, I hate to admit this, it makes me sick to admit it, but I had to wait for that piddly ass, sad, lame incident of Department of Defense disclosure that happened with the acceptance and identification of the film footage being real that was taken off the USS Nimitz, and then some subsequent films that have been slipped out. Nothing slips out of the Department of Defense accidentally. No. We're being weaned off of our ignorance very slowly, as our planetary unwillingness to either accept or even acknowledge that we're not alone in the universe.
I call it
that we never have been.
Yeah,
we never have been.
Disclosure, not full disclosure.
And then I came to the realization while I was writing the book that, and I'm really tough on the government, and I might need to revisit some of the things that I've, written about that. Although I won't change it. I will revisit it and go, oh, that's going to piss somebody off. Oh God. But it really came to me that we are the point of disclosure. You are, Tony is, my friends Ken and George, and a multitude of other people who have been brave enough to talk about their experiences, to put them in print, to put it out there in lectures, at meetings, at conferences, on YouTube, to put it out there so that people can find it. And I firmly believe that people gravitate to this show specifically because they are going to at least hear something that might expand their own understanding of this subject. And so they take that chance for these 2 hours every Friday night to come together, to flock together, so that we can raise the vibration of the planet in our 2 little hours on our little show and lift people up and make them feel like they are believed, that their stories, that the experiences that they've had are just as valid, just as important, and just as life-altering as the things that you've been through and that I've been through in our lives, that my mother sitting next to me over here has been through, bless her heart, in her life. And that this is real and pure and true. And as we impart this information, we do so with love, because that is our superpower. That's what lifts all of us up into a higher level of consciousness. So, I say bring on the downloads. And I don't know about you, Kristi, but I don't understand a damn thing I'm hearing. It's going into some part of my brain that I cannot access consciously.
I agree. Yes.
It comes through in different ways. Is that true for you too? Like you'll hear yourself saying something, but you did not consciously think it before it came out of your mouth.
Well, and that's how I do my work as a psychic medium. I tell people that it goes in my head and out my mouth. And the minute you walk out the door, I have no recollection of what we talked about. Because they'll come back again and say, remember last time? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't remember anything. And, that's what I ask for, the right words to resonate with people for their healing and highest good, too. Because I'm with you. I am here to lift people and not squash them down. And the best way to do that, I think, is lead by example. And however you choose to lead your life, that people will follow if they know that your intent is in the right place and your heart is in the right place.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the woman who originated the UFO contact in Houghton Lake, Michigan, Deb DeRoos, and her husband RJ are watching tonight because they popped up on the bottom of the banner, and I didn't get to read. Tony had put up some comment that Deb had said about you. So I know she's basically, I think the gist of it I got is she's one of us. Yes, Deb. Yes, Deb, she is one of us. And I think you should probably expect to hear from her.
I hope so.
Because if you want to go to an event in this country that is so inspirational and so connected and so spiritual and so beautiful in every conceivable way, then you simply must come to Houghton Lake, Michigan for the UFO contact, which I think will be our 4th or 5th year this year in September.
I'm going to the UFO conference in Eureka Springs, Arkansas in April.
Oh, that's great.
So
that's wonderful. I don't go to many of them. I'm speaking this year at Starworks Symposium in November out in Laughlin, Nevada, just south of Las Vegas. Las Vegas. It's such a creepy town.
It is.
I know. Oh, the vibe is it's so low. Oh my God.
I get off a plane there and I'm just sad. It feels
I
so
know, me
heavy.
too. I mean, too. Oh my God, you land in a casino where people are spending their hard-earned money. You land in a casino. Oh, the only good thing about it is that you're allowed to smoke in the airport. That's the only good thing about it. I stop in one of those little rooms, grab a quick butt before I leave, and then I'm the hell out of there and on the road.
So funny.
But I know. I am a laugh riot. I know that. I'm very well aware. So, I don't do a lot of conferences, UFO conferences, because in a lot of ways, and I think maybe this is true of you too, I fly above the radar a bit and kind of look down objectively. I'm very careful about who I associate with in the field.
Yeah.
I make sure that the research and what they're putting out has some provenance, has it's a history to what they're doing. I've had the great fortune to have met and interacted at some length with Stanton Friedman before he passed away. And I'm so sad that I can't have him on this show. Yes. He would just sparkle and shine the way he always did. Such a truly sweet man. And I hope that wherever he is, that he's home and that he's got the answers that he was looking
back to the
for.
Mothership.
Yeah, back to the mothership, baby. You bet. But there are a lot of people that are doing really good work. And what I described us as is the point of disclosure. It's us. It's you. It's me. It's Tony. And it's Deb and RJ and everybody else that they attract to their event and that gather all over the country and all over the world to share their experiences. And I very often open my lectures with 3 questions. Do you have blue or green eyes? Are you firstborn or an only child? Do you have the Rh negative blood factor? Very often, almost every hand in the room goes up. And then I ask them a 4th question. A lot of them are usually 3 for 3 of the markers. I'm all 3. And I said, now, do you think for one moment that you accidentally stumbled into this conference? Or do you think that you were drawn here because you have to be here, because you're going to hear something over the course of this experience that will change your life inexorably forever? And that's what this is about. And when each one of us has the bravery to just take it and throw it out into the world the way that you have, it changes the world, Kristi. It literally changes the world. It's immeasurable, it's incalculable, but it's real. And it's raising the vibration of the entire planet as you, with your own work and your intention of love and gratitude, literally uplifts everyone whose life is touched by your words and your work and your presence.
Well, I thank you for that. But that I feel like that is my mission on this planet too.
It is. And mine too.
Yes, absolutely. So I thank you for doing what you do as well, because it is so important to get the word out there. And you are leading by example just by what you do. And I know I'm appreciative. Andy Myers is appreciative and the world is. So I'll speak for everybody else. We all thank you.
It is truly my pleasure. And I felt compelled to reinitiate a world awakening, which began many years ago with my partner in all things paranormal at the time, George Lopez. And we initiated it as a blog talk audio show. Thank you, sweetheart. And it had a good run, like 2.5 years, and had a lot of great guests on in the paranormal. But even at that time, I felt myself being tugged in a different direction. And it was all about looking up. It was all about feeling what was happening around me and on this planet, and the awakening that was occurring within me in terms of writing. I was working on an entirely different project when I had a healing that changed everything. Was right after the death of my sister. And it changed everything. My baby sister passed away in March of 2017, very suddenly and tragically. And it altered everything. It was a personal paradigm shift for me and every member of my family. She was only 51. And it was, it's almost 5 years now, and it still knocks me back just thinking about it. So I understood when you were sharing what you were sharing, how emotional it makes you. That's never going to change, Kristi. That's never going to change. It shouldn't change. It shouldn't. It should evoke an emotional reaction from any cognizant being, sentient, prescient being that has a heart that beats in their body. You're fundamentally altered by that experience.
It's true.
Yeah. And it doesn't, when I revisit the seance that happened at the farmhouse and what I saw happen that night, it's like in the retelling of the story, I'm plunged right back into, I'm 63, but suddenly I'm 15. And I'm watching through the door again, and through the crack in the door, and seeing what I'm seeing and not believing my own eyes.
Yeah.
That I'm actually witnessing what I'm witnessing.
Yeah.
And every time that I revisit that in an interview or a conversation, somebody asks about it, it's as though I'm literally catapulted back in time. I'm right there all over again. So believe me when I tell you, I feel what you feel in terms of revisiting an experience that is seared into your brain. I like that we use the word downloads because our brain does basically function as our computer. It's our mainframe. We're hardwired certain ways as human beings. But what it really is a very deeply spiritual experience for me. I don't know. I want you to tell me how you react to it. But over the years, I have personally learned to sit back, stop whatever I'm doing when it starts, whatever I'm doing, stop.
Yeah.
And breathe and take it in, accept it and embrace it and love it for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it's important. And there's no point in fighting something that's invisible. You can't even see it. It is a vibration that on a frequency that resonates internally with each one of us. Sometimes I hear it literally through my ears. Sometimes I hear it here.
Yeah.
It is, and since I came here, don't tell. Since I came here 2 months ago for Christmas and then never left. My sister came to me the other day and she's like, what's a download? And I started telling her, she's like, I think I have tinnitus. I said, no, honey, you don't have tinnitus. It's just your turn. Well, she said, well, the stuff like this doesn't happen until you're here. I'm like, I know. Well, you're getting them. Every time you say you're hearing this strange thing going on in your head, in your ears, it's happening to me simultaneously. So they're just allowing you where I am to pick that up at the same time.
That's so
funny. That's a wonderful thing. It's your turn.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I have the tinnitus too sometimes, but I'm more clairvoyant, so I see things in my head, and it's like hieroglyphics. That all of a sudden, this big book of hieroglyphics just pops into my head, and I've got no idea what it means, how to read it. Part of me.
You've been downloaded with the Akashic record. That's what's happened. Yeah.
And I visited the Akashic records on several occasions, and just like. That's another program for another
time. It's a whole nother 2 hours, I'm sure.
It is. But I wanted to tell you one other thing with this technological group that I was talking about. This is so cool. And there's certain things that it takes me a little while to have the courage to talk about it. And it used to be learning how to fly the crafts, and now it's like, that's old hat. Yeah. But what I'm being told now with this technological group is that I am a first responder on a galactic scale. And so what I do with other planets that are in trouble, that I will fly a craft with a team of people, and we will visit these other planets, and I will help either evacuate the people, help save the people. I'm actually in charge of underwater life with whales, dolphins, fish, and to either evacuate or to make things right so the planet can be livable again. Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, well, you know what? You need to get your ass in gear right here on planet Earth. I'll tell you what. I think you and I ought to get together and just walk in the front doors of the United Nations and tell them all to sit down, shut up, and listen to what we have to tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but there is an emissary to the extraterrestrials with a position at the United Nations. Now, why would that position exist if they didn't?
Wow, I had no idea.
Oh, she's got like 14 degrees. I mean, the woman is an astrophysicist. She's like brilliant beyond measure. And it is her job to interface between Earthlings and extraterrestrials. Now, why would that position exist at the United Nations if they did not?
And there's so much going on. And I've always said this, that our politicians say, no, it doesn't exist. And I said, they're telling the truth from their frame of reference, from what they know, because so much of this stuff in our government is kept so secret. It's level upon level above our president even. And we've had a few presidents who've even seen UFOs. But it's going on, and it's military, and it's going on in a big way. It's just being kept secret from us for whatever reason.
Let me introduce you to the Princess Peanut Buttercup, who has just leapt into my lap and said, Mommy.
Oh, so cute.
She's my baby. She's my co-host. Tony is not threatened in the least by her at all, because she can't tap the keys. She can't disconnect it. She can only sit in my lap and be cute. And she was, it's getting late in the show. And Melissa knows Princess Peanut Buttercup. Everybody does. Candace does. Auntie Candace is on the screen, honey. Thank you. Oh, God. There goes the lip lard. There it goes. All right, sit down, honey. Go sit with Grammy. Go sit with your Grammy right there. Yeah. Okay. So, these are some of the little cosmic kisses, or some might consider the liabilities of doing a show from home. When you're not actually, I'm not actually in my man cave quietly with the door closed. There's stuff going on around me all the time. I
want her job just to sit there and be cute.
Oh, I know. She's the best baby girl. Oh, she's the center of my universe.
Oh, as she should be.
Yeah, I never thought I could fall for a dinky dog. Honestly, I've always had humongous dogs, huge. And and I fell head over heels for a Chihuahua when the universe dumped her in my lap and said, here, this dog is hurt, save her. And I did. And then she saved me right back.
Yeah.
She's a rescue. She is. So anyway, we only have like 5 minutes left. Ow. I just put my hand on a cast iron wood burning stove that is lit.
Ouch.
I know, Mom. I won't do it again, okay? Oh, my God. Oh. So anyway, I want you to spend this last 5 minutes that we've got telling people how they can reach out to you. if they want to do a reading, if they want to just get your book signed, how people can contact you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I am on Facebook at Kristi Pederson Psychic Medium. I have a YouTube channel, same thing, Kristi Pederson Psychic Medium. My webpage is kristipederson.com or herextraordinarylife.net. So it's the Kristi Pedersons. Hopefully everybody can see it. For those that might just be listening, it's KRISTIPEDERSON. Looks like Pederson, but it's Pederson.
I know. I'm so sorry about that. Oh my God. How did I screw that up? I should have asked you when we were on the phone. Oh, geez.
Everybody does. As far as the books, you can order them directly from me, or they're on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, and you can get them there. So it's We Are Not Alone, My Extraterrestrial Contact was my second book, and Between Earth and Heaven, A Beginner's Guide to Living a Spiritual Life is the third book. The first book, which is An Extraordinary Life, that one can only be bought through me. And that really isn't a spiritual book. I call it my starter book. It's 58 true short stories of what I call moments in time.
Oh, and wonderful.
And it's pretty funny more than anything. But the other two are UFO and spiritual books. Mm-hmm. So I would also like to take a minute just in huge gratitude to you, Andrea, for having me on the show. I so appreciate it. And it's just been a pleasure to talk to both you and Tony and share my story. And hopefully some listeners are out there and recognizing some things in their own life.
Yes. And that's the real beauty of it. And the connections that are being made tonight, just, by folks hearing your story and being touched, having their minds opened, their hearts touched. It's why I do this. And I always have a very eclectic mix of people, but everybody always has the same MO. And that is they are here on a mission. And we are all a part of our world as it awakens. Mm-hmm. And so I thank you with all that I am and all that I have for joining us and being who you are and doing what you do. And I know that I speak for Tony and for KGRA when I say that you are welcome back here anytime. If you write another book, I expect you to premiere it right here on this show. And
I would love to.
And I'm certain that we will meet in our travels. I'm certain that we will and embrace each other like star sisters, because that's really what we are.
Yeah, it's true. We are. I can feel it. The vibes are there.
Oh yeah, the vibes, the energy, everything. It's just wonderful. It's all sparkly and stuff. It's great. So on behalf of Tony Rathman and myself, I'll leave you all tonight with this one singular message, and that is the best is yet to come. Hold on, buckle up, buttercups. It's going to be a wild ride. I love you all. Have a wonderful night. Good night.
Good night.